everybody, and welcome to the first episode of the Sidebar Media Podcast, where we tell the stories of those who tell the stories. We are your hosts, Nicole and Robbie Harper, and we're so glad that you have chosen to spend some time with us. We have a passion to tell the stories of the people who are out there telling us stories every single day. But since you're going to spend some time with us, maybe you should know who we are. Who are we, Rob?
Well, we are married, which is a good thing. And
he took a breath when he said it. What does that mean?
We've known each other we've been married for 20 years. We've known each other for a lot longer than that because we met in high school. And so I guess the traditional high school sweethearts.
We were babies. We were small children.
We had a lot less, or I'll speak for myself, a lot less gray hair and a lot more hair.
Ditto.
At the time.
But thank you for not calling me out on that.
Yes. We have 3 children.
Well, how did you get into this, babe? Who are you? What are you doing?
Well, about 8 years ago, I started a little PR company called Blue Bridge PR. And it came after a little bit of a time of unemployment and trying to figure out some things because I had worked in my parents' company, an agriculture company, for quite a long time after we were first married, and then found myself into the PR world. And I was at a company that I really enjoyed doing what I did. And I worked with attorneys getting them media placements through their various different practices. And I loved it, except it wasn't a great fit of where I was working. And so I ended up leaving there. And I knew that if I could do PR for legal, as technical as that is, I could do it just for about anything. And so I started my own company through many twists and turns and all of the things that come with owning your own business. And we're here 8 years later.
Here we are, coming up on 8 years and hopefully going into 80. We'll be dead before it hits 80, but I'm just saying, hopefully the company's around still. So I am an elementary teacher by trade. So shocking that I'm this bubbly of a personality because I'm used to being around children who find me hilarious. Adults, not so much. And then I've done some management within the educational realm, and I've been a stay-at-home mom ever since our littlest one was born, who is not little anymore. But I'm still really engaged with their kids at school. I volunteer. And as according to what he tells me, I'm part owner of this beautiful Blue Bridge PR company. It's been a wild ride.
That's true. I don't know that I would recommend it to anyone else doing the things and then in the order that we did them, but it was where we were at the time. And
it was anyway, a business built out of necessity.
It was. And what we do now, we work with business owners and CEOs to really leverage who they are, their knowledge and experience to further the message of their brand or company, because they really are, the people that we work with are really the face of their organization. And we help them get media placements to leverage that among other people and potential clients and their audience to further increase their personal brand, which actually affects their company brand.
So we're busy enough. Got 3 kids, running a business, volunteering, doing all these things. Why are we making a podcast, Robert? Why? Besides the fact that it's super fun.
It's fun. And I've wanted to do a podcast for a long time, but this idea that came to us was really a good reason to start one. And I was looking for a reason to start one, and I think this is a good reason to start one.
All right, Robbie, and tell people where this Sidebar Media Podcast was born from.
A Mexican restaurant.
As all good things should be. Everything good is done around nachos.
I'd like to say,
in my opinion,
I'd like to say we were fancy, and cool enough to write it all on the little napkin or whatever. But we didn't write it on the napkin. We were just,
The napkin would have had salsa on it.
it would have.
I am not a clean taco eater. I really get into my food. So what is the point of this podcast? Because there's millions of podcasts. I don't know. I haven't counted recently.
Well, as we've been doing this PR company, because of the nature of PR, public relations, we deal with the media almost on a daily basis. And you get to see, you do this long enough, you really get to see a different side to people in the media than what a viewer or reader sees. A viewer or a reader sees somebody that's very put together and eloquent with their words and just seems like they are picture perfect, when in fact people in the media are just like the rest of us. And this podcast is to really show the human side to who they are, because not a lot of people see that.
We see a byline or a face on a broadcast or even a ghost behind a screen typing out information. And we very quickly forget that there's real people who are doing it. There are real people who are writing these stories. There are real people who are having their own challenges and have to figure out what to make for dinner, how to pick their kids up from school, how to share custody of their kids, got to get the car to the mechanic. These are people who are experiencing real life. And media for a long time has taken not the personality away from people, but it's added this weird celebrity status to things that isn't necessarily needed. And we forget that people are people and that they have real lives happening and that their feelings get hurt. And I think especially in social media world, we can write things behind a keyboard about somebody we don't like and we don't have to pay the consequences of it. And we forget there's someone on the other side of the screen who is hearing it and internalizing it. And so our podcast wants to bring light to the people who write these stories and report on things and give them a voice that's their own voice, that's not the voice that they're paid to put out there.
That's a good point. I think the aha moment for me to really share this story or these stories of journalists is there was a story at our own church who our church did a giving campaign. It was about 3 or 4 years ago, and they gave a bunch of money and worked with a third-party company to pay off medical debt for people in surrounding counties of where we are in Florida. And it made national news, and because it is really unheard of to do something like that. And it was a great story. And one of the reporters, a local reporter, came to the office, the church office, and interviewed our pastor. And, you know, you could see she didn't have a big crew. She carried in her own camera, set up the mics, did everything in the office and to interview our pastor. And as she was setting this up, she said, you know, you don't really understand what it does for us to cover a story like this, because it's so refreshing, it's positive, and this is something that I really enjoy covering. She said, I covered 2 murders in the past week. And after a while, that kind of thing wears on somebody that is reporting that kind of thing. And so for the first time, I could really see and talk to somebody in person who really showed something that I hadn't really ever seen before. And that's the reason that we're doing this, because not a lot of people have seen that. And they just see that one side to that person. They don't see the fact that they are a human who is in a very competitive job and is working many, many hours a week and trying to better their career. But they're just normal people, just like the rest of us.
Exactly. And that's why we on this podcast want to tell the stories of those who tell the stories. And so we hope you'll join us as we journey through meeting new people. And we're just going to show that people are people. And the more that we understand that we're a lot more similar than we are different, we might just be a little bit kinder.
Thank you for joining us, and stay tuned.
We'll see ya.